Hello and welcome to this episode of One-on-One Sports. I'm Brad Clear.
And I'm Andrew Vandellis. We have a lot in store, including a special guest alum, so stay tuned. That all starts
right now.
Welcome back. We got a lot in store, but let's get started with the quick hitters. This past Sunday, New York Knicks president Steve Mills and GM Scott Perry held an impromptu press conference after a 21-point loss to the Cavaliers. Mills and Perry expressed disappointment with the team's level of play thus far, and head coach Dave Fizdale very much appears to be on the hot seat. Brad, what do you think of the Knicks situation?
So I think I have a three-layered response to this.
Go on.
First off, the notion, and I don't even think Steve Mills and Scott Perry fully believe this, but the notion that this team was supposed to be competitive is insane. You know, was a terrible team last year, and now it's a very bad team. The only thing they did this offseason was sign, outside of Julius Randle, Taj Gibson, Marcus Morris, Bobby Portis, Reggie Bullock, Elfrid Payton, Wayne Ellington. All those guys are going to do.
And who did they sign, by the way? I can't think of two players.
All those guys
that
are
were really
going to
hot on
do
the
is
free
take
agent market.
minutes away from young guys who they need to give time to and develop. So the idea they're going to be competitive is foolish. They're a terrible bottom five team. Second, this idea that the Cleveland Cavaliers are a hapless team this year is not true. They're just under 500. They're actually pretty decent. The starting five, they have Thompson, Love, Osman, Sexton, and Garland. They have a great nickname. Look it up. One of the 10 best net ratings of any five-man group in the entire NBA. And then lastly, on David Fizdale, is David Fizdale a good coach? Probably not. His rotations aren't great. His offense and defense aren't anything special. But putting the blame on him as a scapegoat in this situation, I get it from Mills' standpoint with Dolan being upset. But him being the scapegoat here, this was a bad team, and thinking it was going to be anything else was stupid.
I agree with you. In what world were the Knicks going to be competitive this year?
Yeah.
Especially when, you pass out on, or you're passing up on trying to pay Kyrie and KD, and you end up with, as you said,
well, they didn't
Bobby
pass up,
Portis.
they just didn't choose to sign.
They could have. They could have at least gone for it. Instead, you get Bobby Portis.
They weren't getting either guy.
But anyways, that's what you get. Are we shocked that they're doing this poorly, 2-9? No, we're not. And I have no sympathy for them or Dolan. Dolan should sell the team.
The Knicks, as much as things change with the Knicks, they stay the same.
Yep.
Last week, Miami Heat guard Dion Waiters was suspended 10 games by the team after Waiters had an incident on the team plane after eating an edible. This is the second time Waiters has been suspended by the Heat this season. Andrew, what do you make of this Dion Waiters situation?
It's honestly kind of funny, because how do you overdose on gummies? And this is just really stupid. It's irresponsible. And the New York Post even said, shout out Jerry Blunder, they called it repeated conduct deemed detrimental to the team. This is costing him $2 million in total, at least $800,000. And this is
with the bonus for 70 games played? Yeah.
Yep, and November 30th is the day. And Eric Spoelstra said once we got that behind us, just for clarification, we were able to focus better. So this is nothing for the Heat. It's more for Waiters, because this could be a lot more detrimental to, even if he stays on the team or not. It's just really, really stupid.
So two things. First off, as far as staying on the team, his contract is toxic. That is not going anywhere. He's staying on this team. Second time he's been suspended by the team this season. He's guaranteed $12.1 million this year, $12.6 next year. He's going nowhere.
It's a lot of money.
But here's the thing. Even if he was on the straight and narrow and there was nothing wrong with his situation right now, he wouldn't be getting any minutes in this team's rotation. Tyler Hero would be in front of him. Kendrick Nunn would be in front of him. This team is 10 deep without him even being a factor. So all he is to this team is a toxic contract with significant guarantees for the next 2 years. Outside of garbage time, maybe a couple times later in the year, I don't think Dion Waiters is anything of a factor for this team this season or next season.
It's just a shame.
Yeah, it is.
With the NBA season over 10 games in, the debate over load management is as strong as ever, with stars such as Kawhi and Embiid carrying out the practice and Clippers coach Doc Rivers being fined. Brad, what are your thoughts on the load management debate?
So it's a load of crap, right? When we look at players in the NBA, how do we define success and look at guys' legacies in the macro? We look at rings, we look at championships, we look at how they do in the playoffs deep into May and June. All load management are these players trying to give themselves the ability to be at the best health, the best energy level, and optimal playing ability during that time. So if you're Kawhi Leonard, last year when Toronto load managed the crap out of him, he was still very tired at that point in time, and he got them to the championship.
And they won.
Whereas Joel Embiid, The Sixers did not load manage him very well, and he was sick and fatigued in the playoffs. So all this is, to me, I get the motivation here is TV money, right?
Yeah.
They don't want a guy on the second night of a back-to-back to sit out a nationally televised game. Now, Joe Schmo, who buys a ticket in New Orleans to see Kawhi on the second night of a back-to-back, that doesn't matter. It's not about him. It's about championships.
It's money. It's a money factor on the cable side, and I get the fact that you're paying to see Kawhi sometimes, or LeBron last year, which we talked about on the show. But let's dive a little bit into what it means for anyone out there who might not know. It's monitoring the physiological stress or load, as you mentioned.
Yes.
The player endures any number of activities. So as you mentioned, they're resting them to make sure that they're not doing damage to themselves that could really come back to bite them in the butt.
And as we know, the NBA season at 82 games, it's too long. You have to carry out load management to be at peak health in the playoffs.
Exactly. And I have no problem with it personally. I have a problem with older NBA players saying like, oh, well, back in my day, okay, boomer, first of all.
Michael Jordan had to retire to
get
time off. Yeah.
Exactly. If this was in their era, and I'll leave it at this, no one would be complaining. If Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson had this in their era. It's good because you want them to be the best player they can
Exactly. If you want a guy to win a championship and to judge him off of that, let him give himself the best ability to be healthy to win that championship come June. Earlier this week, The Athletic published an article detailing the Houston Astros sign-stealing practices over the last few years using a camera in center field and sound cues from within the dugout. Former Astros pitcher Mike Fiers even provided a quote for the article, voicing his displeasure over the practice, and video has since surfaced of the Astros relaying signs with incredible speed. Andrew, what do you make of this unfortunate situation?
That's what I have to say. This is a disaster. It came in their championship season, nevertheless. This not only tarnishes everything the Astros have accomplished, through their tanker, and it's a blemish. It is a blemish. The size, how big it is, it depends. It is just embarrassing either way that this is, a breakthrough discovery that could change the perception of them and how we view them as a team in the late 2010s and overall this decade as a top-tier team. It ruins their integrity. I don't really have anything else to say except this just shouldn't be tolerated.
I look at it as this Houston Astros team is so talented across the board.
Why would you need it?
They don't need anything like this. Look at their lineup 1 to 9. Look at their starting rotation. Look at how they've consistently built up a sustainably elite farm system. Look at how well they carried out Astro Ball. A book was written about them with how great their process was. They don't need to be doing this. So to me, it's just unfortunate because a good team like this taking such an egregious shortcut is really disgusting.
I just want to know the thought process behind it. You have the talent, as you mentioned. You have the rotation. You have the coaching. You have the money. You have invested a decade into making this team successful. So why do you feel as if it's necessary to cheat?
And I'll say this too. There's been the little cries of, oh, rescind this, rescind that. No, none of that.
And that can't happen.
And then the second thing too is when the Yankees were complaining that the Astros were doing like a whistling sound with sign stealing in the playoffs, AJ Hinch, the Astros manager, came out and gave a statement that basically said, this is crap, this isn't true. Well, there may have been something to that. So, again, to me, it's just very unfortunate because this is an elite team that would have been able to win championships without doing this. And this isn't even a competitive advantage. This is straight up cheating.
It's one of those things where I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. I am mad, but that's...
I'm both.
Just a little bit. Well, that's all the time we have for the quick hitters. Stay tuned. We got plenty more left on this episode of One-on-One Sports. Upsets, buzzer beaters, dunks, and flops. It's only November, but it leads to the madness. We're less than a month in, and the AP preseason top 3 have already fallen. We have a special crew joining me today to break down the chaos. I'm here with Emmanuel Tobe, Drew Gentry, an Elon iMedia alum, and the producer of The David Glenn Show, Darren Vaught. So, Darren, we're going to throw it right to you. Kentucky falls to Evansville. What are your thoughts on the matter?
A, it's a cool story. B, let's give a shout out to one of the best Boston sports names ever, Walter McCarty, right? Kentucky alum getting the win against his old team in the Wildcats. I think we're set up for a really, really crazy season because, and it all starts with the month of November, for the first time ever, the 2 separate Associated Press #1 teams have fallen in the month of November. Guys, we're halfway through. We still got a couple of weeks for more things to shake out, so it's insane.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a great year, but I'm looking at the Kentucky loss, and a lot of people are already like jumping ship and freaking out and stuff like that. Calm down. This happens in college basketball pretty frequently. It usually doesn't happen this early, though, but it does happen in college basketball. Now, what this did show us was some of Kentucky's weaknesses, though, like their three-point shooting. Their last 3 games, or the first 3 games, they've gone 6 for 18, 2 for 15, and 4 for 17 from 3. They're shooting less than 25%. That's 319th in the NCAA.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me as well. After losing Tyler Hero, they're really going to struggle to shoot the ball. And then losing to Evansville, it made my heart happy, I'm not going to lie. Coming from a Duke fan, seeing Calipari just always has that early season flop. Kentucky, besides their near perfect season, they always lose to a team that they shouldn't, and it's usually either at home or in a neutral site, and that always just makes me laugh because they always continue to produce mediocrity when they have this dominance.
Yeah, but let's think about it from John Calipari's perspective, right? He's had the one team that ran the table, and other than that, he's come up short in a lot of cases, and it's because he's got very, very good teams that lose later in the year, the big games. I think he would rather his Wildcats get this type of loss out of the way early while we're still in the month of November.
Have they lost their prestige?
No.
Absolutely not.
There's a little bit of a softball.
They're still a
first.
blue blood.
So we'll
They're
go
still
for
a blue
prestige,
blood.
the team that Duke, Drew talked about. Duke, Zion Williamson gone, as we know. R.J. Barrett as well. They're 3-0 right now, but could we see Duke have a Zion hangover, Drew?
Okay, so I'm going to say no, not from Duke, but from the marketing standpoint, yes. But they already have a freak athlete in Cassius Stanley who sells out arenas, does the same thing Zion did, set the all-time record for vertical at Duke a year after Zion. He was only a top 30 prospect, not a highly ranked guy, but every NBA scout has said he has the potential to be one of those Cam Reddish-esque like top 10 draft picks coming out of this year.
Yeah, this class, as far as the freshmen are concerned, for Duke might not have the buzz, but it might ultimately be just as good, if not better. The Zion, RJ, Cam combo, especially with Tyus coming back, coming back for his sophomore season. So they've got an established point guard, which is something that Duke rarely has had throughout the one-and-done era because guys jump ship after one season. So he's great defensively. He's a great leader for Duke. And then you mix him up with, you mentioned Cassius Stanley. I know Matthew Hurt was the higher of the recruits between the two. Stanley might turn out to be the better college player. He might be the better pro after.
He is a baller. But I want to go back to something that Drew was talking about with the whole marketing aspect of Zion Williamson. And I personally think that Zion, this is the last time that we'll see a high school superstar the size of Zion go and play college basketball, because I think the one and done rule is coming to an end, and I think there's going to be some pressure for players to, if they're that good, if they're that much of a star, just go straight to the NBA.
So, Manny, you mentioned the one-and-done rule. Great segue, by the way. But do you think it's effective? And if not, do you think there are any other policies you'd like to see the NCAA implement?
So, my beef with the one-and-done rule, and I do have beef with it, okay? We don't get along. But
complicated.
But my beef with the one-and-done rule is that it's more of something for the NCAA instead of something for the players. So, if we had the rule where you have to play, 1 year out of college, and we opened it up to the G League for players out of high school, or open it up for just more opportunities for players to have that 1 year break and make it to the NBA, I would be fine with it. But to me, the one and done rule is something just for the NCAA, and I just don't really approve of it just being for that aspect of it.
There's some irony in that too, because it's technically speaking a National Basketball Association rule.
Exactly.
And it does come in handy for certain guys. I called Trey Jones Tyus just a second ago, but just as I did throughout his entire freshman year at Duke, because why wouldn't I? They look and play exactly the same, except Tyus hit threes. But it comes in handy for a guy like Trey, because there was a lot of expectations placed on that team. He's a little bit undersized, and it's difficult for a point guard to break in at the next level like that. So you see him get some benefit out of being able to come back for a second season. You see Duke obviously get some benefit because they've got a defensive leader and a floor leader offensively with Trey Jones.
So Darren, let's keep it local. Who are your freshman standouts in the state of North Carolina? And are there any dark horse players that we should be on the lookout for?
I think we would be remiss to overlook Cole Anthony at North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, he is – it's funny, you talk about a Zion hangover.
Yeah.
I think college basketball might have a slight Zion Williamson hangover here for us locally.
Yeah.
I don't know about it. This guy is filling the void pretty nicely, even when the guy he's replacing, Kobe White, came out of nowhere last year to be one of the true sensations. So Cole Anthony starts and finishes that list for me.
Well, Darren, it's been a pleasure, and Manny, Drew, always. That's all the time we have here from the Hardwood on 101 Sports. Huge thank you again to our special guest alum, Darren Vaught, for making the time to join us. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, like, comment, and subscribe below. The NCAA has been in negative headlines recently as Ohio State football star and potential top 3 pick in the NFL draft, Chase Young, was suspended for taking a loan to fly his girlfriend to the Rose Bowl. While potential first overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, James Wiseman was ruled ineligible due to Memphis head coach Penny Hardaway assisting Wiseman and his family financially in moving to Memphis. With name and image likeness compensation not coming for any time soon, Brad, what do we make of the NCAA's recent actions?
This really is, even with the intention for the NCAA to move towards compensation for name, image, and likeness, it shows that fundamentally, and this is something that's not novel, we've known this, the NCAA is an anti-athlete organization, has been and still is. A loan that was paid back in full to fly someone out to watch you play in a bowl game, come on. Now, the Wiseman one I kind of understand because technically Hardaway was a booster before becoming. I get that. Still, it's ridiculous. But to me, it just shows the fact that even if the NCAA is making these strides towards name, image, and likeness compensation, at its core, it still fundamentally remains an anti-athlete organization.
I agree. It's completely for their own benefit, and they don't really take the needs of the players into consideration at all. And on the surface level, you could say, oh well, these players shouldn't be asking coaches to fly them out or to help move or fly out or take out a loan to fly out their girlfriend or whatever. But that's just not a valid argument.
No, it's not.
It's total negligence on the NCAA's part.
And especially in the Chase Young case, what's the benefit for the point for me, all of these things that the NCAA is so strongly enacting upon, right? What's the benefit? There's no benefit for the NCAA to be so staunchly cracking down on it's not even an offense, you know what I'm saying?
It's just more punitive than it is in terms of trying to discipline them, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish.
Exactly, and that's the thing that baffles me. Again, anti-athlete, and even with strides, fundamentally the NCAA is still the same organization it's been at its core, which is one that acts too strongly on things that should not be acted upon at all.
And then doesn't act upon the things that should be.
Yes, we'll leave
That's
it
all
at
I gotta
that.
say. That's all the time we have for this episode of 101 Sports.
If you like what you saw and would like to keep up with us, please follow us on social media, all at 101 Sports.
As always, we'd like to thank our producers, the talent, and our amazing crew. So until next time.
Whose side are you on?